Not all threats come from rebellion. Some come from within, from roles too necessary to question, from names too holy to reject. He wasn't cast out of heaven in a blaze of war. He never tried to take the throne, but he was banished all the same. His name means venom of God. Not because he turned against the divine, but because he became its sharpest weapon. You won't find Samuel preaching lies. You won't find him tempting for pleasure. He is the accuser, the enforcer, the executioner. He is the one who speaks when no one else will. The one who does what even angels fear. Some say he's Satan. Others say he's even older, deeper, closer to the source. In Jewish mysticism, he walks beside God. In Kabbalistic texts, he sits at the root of corruption. To mystics, he's the angel of death. To sinners, he's the voice that cannot be silenced. To Lilith, he is her equal. Samuel doesn't punish because he's cruel. He punishes because it's what he was made to do. This is the story of Samuel, the angel of death, the husband of Lilith, and the king of demons. Before demons had names, before mankind had fallen, there was Samuel. He wasn't created in defiance. He wasn't born from chaos. He was made with intention, by God's own design. In early Jewish mysticism, Samuel appears not as a traitor, but as a necessary function, a tool for divine judgment, an angel who serves not with compassion, but with precision. His name Samuel comes from the Hebrew Sam, meaning poison or venom, and El, meaning of God. Not the healer, not the messenger, not the guardian. Samuel was built for the things no other angel wanted to touch. In the Talmud, in the Midrash, in whispers passed between scholars, Samuel is the angel of death, not fallen, but feared. He carries out divine decrees with brutal efficiency. He is the one who ends life when the time comes, who stands ready at the edge of every breath, and he does it all in service of heaven. He was never loved. He wasn't meant to be. While Michael led armies and Gabriel brought visions, Samuel executed judgment, not out of cruelty, but because someone had to. And so he earned many names: the accuser, the destroyer, the angel of death, the serpent. Not because he rebelled, but because he was the edge of God's will, sharpened until it could no longer be distinguished from wrath. His origin isn't a fall, it's a role. Terrible, sacred, and absolute. The story of Eden is often remembered as a tale of innocence lost, of temptation and betrayal, and of paradise shattered by a single choice. But buried beneath the familiar narrative lies a far older interpretation, one where the serpent in the garden is not a mere devil in disguise, but something far more unsettling. In the eyes of many early Jewish mystics and commentators, that serpent was not Satan. It was Samuel. Unlike the fallen rebels so often blamed for the fall of man, Samuel didn't enter the garden out of spite or ambition. He didn't move in opposition to heaven. He acted on behalf of it. In some traditions, his presence was intentional, a test sent by God to challenge the will of humanity, to determine whether Adam and Eve would obey out of loyalty or simply because they had never been tempted otherwise. As the serpent, Samuel approached Eve not with fire or force, but with knowledge. He didn't deceive her with lies. He offered her truth. He showed her the boundaries she had been told not to cross and simply asked, "Why? Why should you not eat from the tree? Why should you obey without understanding?" And in that moment, as Eve reached for the fruit, Samuel didn't gloat. He didn't rejoice. He simply watched as the truth of human nature was revealed. In this telling, Samuel was not the cause of the fall, but the catalyst. He didn't force humanity's hand. He exposed what was already in their hearts. His role wasn't to destroy paradise, but to uncover the fragile illusion that it was ever complete without choice. He served not as an enemy of Eden, but as its final test. And when Adam and Eve were cast out, Samuel didn't follow them in exile. He returned to his post, unthanked, uncelebrated, and utterly necessary because someone had to ask the question. Someone had to push the boundary, and that someone was Samuel, the one who tempts not out of malice but to reveal what truths lie beneath the surface. But heaven saw it differently. To many of the archangels, this act was not balance, it was interference. Samuel had overstepped not by force, but by subtlety, and that made it worse. He had not waged war. He had not declared rebellion. Instead, he had carried out his own interpretation of divine purpose and in doing so, shifted the course of creation. Whether it was pride, compassion, or calculated duty, it didn't matter. The damage was done. Heaven did not fall into chaos. There was no dramatic clash. Instead, Samael simply found himself on the outside. No commands came. No new scrolls appeared. The gates of heaven did not slam shut. They simply stopped opening for him. There was no judgment issued, no official decree. He was not imprisoned like the Watchers, nor hunted like Lucifer. His exile was passive, but permanent. Heaven turned its gaze elsewhere, and Samael, so integral, so indispensable, was simply no longer welcome. And so he left, carrying no resentment, only silence. Still doing what he believed was necessary, still walking the edges of divine law, still serving in ways heaven no longer wanted to acknowledge. Some say he became darker afterward. Others claim he remained exactly the same, but that heaven had changed. Whichever is true, the result remains. Samael, once among the most beautiful of angels, became the one heaven left behind. Not because he rebelled against the divine plan, but because he believed in it too deeply to ignore what others refused to see. Samael has never been easy to define. Unlike the clearly fallen figures of Christian demonology or the monstrous beasts of folklore, he occupies a space that blurs the lines between angel and demon, servant and adversary, justice and destruction. His appearance, much like his role, depends on who is looking and why. In many depictions, he is described as radiant and terrifying all at once. Some sources speak of an angel clothed in flame, whose wings burn with divine fire and whose eyes pierce through both flesh and spirit. Others describe him as a skeletal figure cloaked in black, crowned with iron, and holding a sword that severs the soul from the body. He is often portrayed with 12 wings, a number symbolic of completeness but also judgment. There are no soft features, no warmth. Samael is beautiful in the way a storm is beautiful, unforgiving, immense, and impossible to ignore. His behavior follows this same logic. He is not cruel for cruelty's sake, nor chaotic in his methods. He carries out his duties with perfect precision, free from emotion, free from mercy. Whether as the angel of death who collects the souls of the dying or the accuser who stands in heaven's court to expose mankind's sins, Samael does what no one else will, and does it without hesitation. In his hand, judgment becomes a blade. He punishes not because he wants to, but because someone must. In many traditions, he is the one who carries out God's harshest orders, executing divine justice even when that justice costs lives, hope, or innocence. His presence is not welcomed, but it is always obeyed. Among the powers attributed to him are death itself, which he is said to administer with a single touch, accusation as he serves as a prosecutor of human souls, temptation for he tests the will of even the righteous, and leadership commanding, legions of spirits that walk the boundary between obedience and ruin. He is also associated with the darker aspects of divine order, severity, punishment, the weighing of souls without the tempering hand of compassion. Where other angels illuminate, Samael reveals. Where others comfort, he confronts. He is not the darkness itself, but the shadow cast by the light of unflinching truth. And in that truth, many have found judgment. Few have found mercy. There are angels who carry light, who speak in harmony, who serve as reminders of divinity's gentler touch. And then there is Samael, whose presence is not a comfort, but a reckoning. His domain was never confined to a single role. He was both gatekeeper and blade, voice and silence, the one who called out the sins of the soul and then followed those words into action. In the heavenly court, Samael's voice didn't echo, it cut. It wasn't fury that fueled him, nor pity. His role was precise to name what was true. He was the one who presented the scroll of transgressions before the divine, unrolling it with steady hands, naming each act, each thought, each failure, never exaggerating, never missing a mark. He did not argue for damnation, nor advocate for mercy. He simply read, and the weight of truth did the rest. Yet Samael's presence didn't end when the trial concluded. He was the one tasked with enforcement, the executioner of sentences too sacred for error. In time, his presence blurred the boundary between justice and death. Where once he stood only in the divine court, he now walked the corridors of mortality itself. He became the angel of death, not because he sought it, but because someone had to do it. And so he moved quietly through time, unseen and uncelebrated. His name whispered more in fear than reverence. His arrival wasn't accompanied by fanfare or trumpet, but by stillness, the kind that presses against the chest when the final moment approaches. A silent watcher at the bedsides of kings and beggars alike, the breath before the end, the last witness. Unlike the chaos of demons or the warmth of other angels, Samael's power came from restraint. He never rushed, never lingered. He appeared when it was time and did only what was needed. And then he left, taking nothing with him but the silence that always followed. For some, death is a thief, for others a release. But when it was Samael who came, it was neither. It was order. It was inevitable. It was the moment written long before the soul had ever begun to breathe. And in that moment, he was not cruel. He was necessary. Hey everyone, just a quick intermission here. I wanted to say thank you for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. Did you know that over 80% of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed to the channel? If you've enjoyed this content so far, it would be incredible if you could hit that subscribe button. It's a small gesture, but it really helps the channel grow and ensures that you won't miss any more of our fascinating stories we explore together. Also, if you're feeling generous, please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share with anyone else who may enjoy it. Your support really does make a difference and keeps the content coming. Thanks again, and let's get back to the story. In the darker corners of Jewish mysticism, where sacred texts blur with forbidden knowledge, two names are whispered together, Samael and Lilith. Their union is not a love story. It is a convergence, a joining of forces that were never meant to be gentle. Samael, the angel of death, and Lilith, the mother of demons, are often portrayed as consorts, two exiles from the world of divine comfort, drawn to each other not by affection, but by function. Where Samael judges, Lilith defies. Where he punishes, she tempts. Together, they represent the balance of destruction, one from above, the other from below. In Kabbalistic tradition, their union is known as the Sitra Achra, the other side, a mirror to the holy, twisted and inverted, but still deeply bound to the divine structure. Samael and Lilith are said to dwell within the Kleoth, the dark counterpart to the tree of life. It is there, in the hollow spaces beneath spiritual purity, that they reign, not with chaos, but with purpose. Their bond is often called the counterfeit holy marriage. Just as the divine masculine and feminine unite in sacred harmony above, Samael and Lilith reflect that union below, but with no balance, no mercy. They are severity and seduction, judgment and rebellion, poison and fire. Together they are said to bring forth legions of spirits, beings born not from love, but from rage, from desire, from the parts of creation left unspoken. Their children are nightmares and temptations, plagues of the spirit that prey on the weak, the proud, and the devout alike. Yet what makes their pairing truly unsettling is not the horror it inspires, but the symmetry. Lilith and Samael are not broken echoes of holiness. They are its shadow. They exist not to destroy the divine, but to remind it of its cost. And in that space where death meets desire and judgment embraces defiance, they rule, not with kindness, not with compassion, but with the kind of power that is earned in exile and never forgotten. Long before mankind built temples or kingdoms, before laws were carved in stone, a different kind of rebellion stirred, not in hell, but in heaven. According to the Book of Enoch and other apocryphal texts, a group of angels known as the Watchers descended to earth. They were meant to guide humanity, to teach and protect. But instead, they broke divine law. They lusted after human women, took them as wives, and bore offspring called the Nephilim, giants of great strength and violent nature. In time, these half-deigned children would corrupt the world. While Samael is not always named directly among the Watchers, his shadow looms over the story. In some mystical interpretations, he is seen as a commander, tempter, or silent architect behind their fall. Just as he tested Adam and Eve, So too did he test the loyalty of his fellow angels, not with force, but with a whisper of freedom, of desire, of knowledge that should never be shared. He was not among the ones cast down in chains, but he may have been the one who lit the match. What ties Samael to the Watchers is not just proximity, it's intent. Like them, he is associated with forbidden knowledge. Like them, he stands at the edge between obedience and defiance. But unlike them, Samael never claimed innocence. He did not descend out of love or longing. He stayed where he was, doing what he was made to do, expose weakness. In the chaos that followed the Watcher's betrayal, Samael's role shifted again. In some versions of the myth, he becomes the Punisher, sent to strike down the Nephilim and bring judgment upon the earth. In others, he remains distant, an ever-present reminder that temptation can exist even within the walls of heaven. The fall of the Watchers was not just a divine scandal. It was a fracture in the relationship between heaven and earth. And if Samael was not the one who caused it, he was certainly the one who ensured it could never be forgotten. In this story, he is not the rebel, he is the test, and those who failed, whether angel, human, or half-breed, did so under his gaze. In the mystical heart of Kabbalah, beyond the familiar hierarchies of angels and the radiant flow of divine light, lies a hidden structure, one not built on mercy or creation, but on distortion, imbalance, and spiritual decay. It is called the Qliphoth, the husks or shells, and it is here at the roots of this inverted tree that Seal reigns. Unlike the sacred tree of life which maps the flow of divine energy through 10 harmonious spheres, the Qliphoth is its reflection in negative space. It is the other side, the realm where holiness has been twisted into its opposite, and at the highest point of this dark mirror paired with Lilith Sitzel, not as a tyrant, but as a principle. Samael does not merely dwell here, he defines it. He is the embodiment of severity without balance, of judgment untempered by compassion. Where the Sephro channel divine love and wisdom, the Qliphoth channels unchecked force and corrupted truth. Samael in this world is not an outsider. He is its spine. He is often described in Kabbalistic writings as Lilith's consort not just in myth but in metaphysical structure. She is the seduction of the flesh. He is the weapon of the spirit. Together they give form to the darkest forces within creation, forces that are not inherently evil but necessary in a world where free will exists. This role is complex. Samael is not merely the ruler of evil. He is the filter, the blade that cuts away illusion, even if the cost is pain. In some traditions, he is said to block unworthy souls from ascending, guarding the boundary between holy and profane. In others, he feeds off corruption, drawing power from the very decay he helps enforce. And yet, the Qliphoth is not a place of chaos. It is a system, a mirror, the shadows of what should be made visible only when light is cast in the wrong direction. Samael is its master because he understands judgment without vanity and punishment without apology. To mystics, engaging with this part of the cosmos is dangerous but illuminating. For if the tree of life reveals what we could be, the Qliphoth through Samael shows us what we are when stripped of every excuse. In modern occultism and esoteric thought, Samael has undergone a transformation not into something new, but into something more fully seen. No longer confined to the margins of religious texts or whispered commentary, he has become a central figure in the study of the divine shadow, the part of spirituality that does not comfort but confronts. Within traditions like the Lema, Luciferianism, and other left-hand path philosophies, Samael is not treated as an enemy of God, but as a necessary force within the structure of divine reality. He represents the fire beneath revelation, the force that drives transformation through pain, the one who tears away falsehood so that truth, raw and uncomfortable, can emerge. To some, Samael is synonymous with Satan or even Lucifer, but in deeper circles, the distinction is preserved. Samael is not the bringer of light. He is not the liberator. He is the force that burns away the veil. He is the initiator whose presence often marks the boundary between the known and the terrifying unknown. He does not enlighten. He exposes. Symbols associated with Samael are often sharp, angular, and severe. Swords, serpents, blackened suns, or scorched wings. In ritual and meditation, Practitioners may invoke Samael not to destroy, but to refine. He is called upon during shadow work, during spiritual tests, or when a soul is ready to confront the parts of itself it would rather bury. His image has also spread beyond occult circles. In literature, film, and gaming, he appears as an angel of vengeance, a grim reaper, a judge who operates beyond human morality. Sometimes he is portrayed as evil because we cannot help but fear what we cannot plead with. But just as often, he is shown as misunderstood, embodying the terrifying necessity of consequence in a world addicted to freedom. What makes Samael so compelling in modern times is that he speaks to a deeper truth that growth without suffering is a myth, that light without shadow is blindness. His presence in mysticism has never been about chaos or destruction for its own sake. It has always been about purification through fire, truth without anesthesia. In a world desperate for comfort, Samael remains the voice that reminds us that not all healing is gentle. Samael has never begged for loyalty. He has never asked to be loved. He is not the angel who consoles the broken or guides the lost. He is the one who watches as illusions fall away, who delivers what was always coming. He is not evil because he disobeyed. He is terrifying because he didn't. In every corner of his story, Samael is a paradox. He is the serpent in the garden and the sword at the end of life. He is the lover of Lilith and the accuser of men. He is death clothed in divine purpose, a being forged not from rebellion but from necessity. He is the part of heaven no one wants to speak of, the blade, the venom, the executioner. And yet without him the structure falls apart. Without judgment there is no justice. Without the test there is no choice. Samael exists because perfection cannot be trusted, because faith must be proven, because truth in the end must be earned. Some fear him, some revere him, most try to ignore him. But Samael does not disappear. He does not fade. He waits at the edge of comfort, at the end of compromise, at the moment when all masks fall away. Because whether in heaven or hell, mythology or mysticism, Samael remains what he has always been, the knife that cuts both ways.